Thanks, Chair.
You've up to 10 minutes.
Five should be sufficient, yeah. Thanks, Chair, and I'd just like to welcome the Minister here today to answer questions before us. Minister, just a number of queries here. I'll keep it brief. I'd be interested in hearing the answers. Just the first one that we came across recently is the omission of the post offices, credit unions and banks from regulations on face coverings. I'm assuming that that's related to security concerns at those facilities. I was just wondering, could you provide any clarity in relation to that? Secondly, there's an issue with over 70s. I suppose the recent guidelines have impacted on those people most. They're restricting their movements and, I suppose, returning to some degree of cocooning. Just in relation to that, could you provide people in that age bracket with some kind of practical advice of what's expected of them? You know, how they should go about their business or restrict their business, their daily business to I suppose, ensure that they're adequately socially distant and so on. I would be interested in hearing how you might provide some practical examples of that. And obviously, in relation to that, many elderly people in particular would be obviously at present have appointments with the National Treatment Purchase Fund, and many of those appointments would be taking place obviously up the north. And I suppose in an era where or in a time when we're asking people of that age group to be socially distant and cocoon, I suppose, has the advice changed or deviated on those people that might have those types of appointments in the coming weeks ahead while those impositions are still in place? And my final question then just relates to meat plants. At present, the majority of testing seems to be pre-announced testing of employees at those plants, and as opposed to random testing of employees. And I was just wondering what the rationale was behind that, or could you explain the distinction? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Deputy. The short answer on face coverings in financial institutions is yes, for the reasons that you outlined. For the over 70s, yeah, the advice, let me try and, as I'm sure you can appreciate, you want to be careful about sounding like you are the Chief Medical Officer and providing direct public health advice. So let me do my best to paraphrase the advice from the Chief Medical Officer. Essentially, it is to use extreme caution right now. We know from the data that people who are more vulnerable to this virus, be they over 70 or with underlying conditions, are being extremely careful. We know that because as the number of cases has gone up and up, thankfully the number of fatalities, hospital admissions and ICU admissions has remained stable and very low. So we know that people who are more vulnerable to this disease are already exercising their judgment very well and very effectively. The message during this period, which hopefully is just the 3.5-week period, is to be even more careful. What does that mean? It means limiting your number of social interactions, limit the number of people who come into your home. If you're going shopping, please do it during designated times for more vulnerable people if that's available. If not, see if there are other ways of having shopping brought to your house. People have asked me, can they still go on their holidays in Ireland? The answer is absolutely yes, but take all of the precautions you would be taking at home. Limit your social interactions, wear face coverings, ask other people to wear face coverings, and so on and so forth. Can I make a point on this as well, Deputy, if I may, which is it's not just up to people who are more vulnerable, it's up to everybody else as well. So we all have a role to play, and the Chief Medical Officer spoke passionately and strongly this morning about the need for solidarity. The best way that people who are vulnerable to this disease can be protected is for us to suppress the disease in our community. That means keeping our distance, limiting the number of people we meet with, washing our hands, wearing face coverings, and the other measures. So that really is the message that I want to get out, that I hope everyone in this committee gets out, which is we have to do this together, we can do it together, we know that it works. Can people still go to Northern Ireland for health appointments? Yes, absolutely they can. And I'm sorry, Deputy, you had a final question around cereal testing and meat processing plants.
Yeah, I suppose at present many of those tests seem to be pre-arranged or pre-announced as opposed to random testing. Is there going to be a change in that, or is that going to continue to be the practice?
So there's two different things. There's randomised inspections, which the HSA have now stepped up, which is right and proper. In terms of the testing, it is serial testing and mass testing. So it's important that when the National Ambulance Service is coming to a plant, that they can test everybody, they can do it quickly, and that does mean giving people notice. But there's no concern has ever been raised about giving people notice for testing. The concern raised was that inspections need to be more randomised, and that is beginning to happen.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant, randomised inspections. So,
Yeah, yes, so that is happening more now.
okay, thanks.